Let's get more analysis now from Tiril Skarstein, who joins us now from Oslo. She is the head of the media unit at the Norwegian Refugee Council. Welcome to you. Now, the annual World Refugee Day is being marked all around the globe. How would you describe the global status and severity of the refugee crisis this year?
It's very severe. The figure is record high. More than 100 million people are now displaced, either within their own country or to neighboring countries, or as asylum seeker in other countries across the world. And we have to remember that many of these people, they are struggling to survive. They get very basic support. No, some of them don't get any support at all, and they get their lives put on hold. They're waiting for a solution.
And how much would you say that the Ukraine refugee crisis is eclipsing and putting pressure on other refugee crises around the world?
It's definitely putting a lot of pressure on other crises that are now in the shadows of the crisis in Ukraine, basically. We see that the price of wheat is increasing, which has a very negative impact on a lot of crises, for example, at the African continent, at the Horn of Africa and the Sahel. And in addition, we see that several countries are now discussing whether to cut on their donor funding, so the funding for humanitarian support to some of these crises that really now need our support.
Tiril, the theme for this year's World Refugee Day is whoever, whatever, whenever, everyone has a right to seek safety. How does that fit into the UK government's plans to send some migrants to Rwanda to have their asylum claims processed? We've seen that making headlines in international media these past few weeks.
Yeah, we believe that this is contradictory to both the text and the spirit of the Refugee Convention. It's important that people get the right to seek asylum and that this right is respected and that people are not traded as commodities, but that we all share the responsibility for ensuring that we follow the Refugee Convention.
And just on that very point of sharing, we're speaking to you from Turkey, the country that hosts the most refugees in the world. How can more developed countries, how can they do more? Because low and middle income countries host over 80% of the world's refugees. That's astounding.
It is. And the richer countries definitely need to scale up the humanitarian support to these countries that are hosting a lot of refugees and to also people who are displaced within their own countries. We see that the humanitarian appeals are severely underfunded. There is a need for a lot of more money to support people where they are. But we also need to ensure that people who come to richer nations are given the right to seek asylum, and that we also take more people in as for resettlement, so that some people get the opportunity to resettle safely to a safe country.
And how worried are you when you hear these words, a global recession, even higher inflation in so many countries, developed countries as well, that it will get worse, the refugee crisis will get worse in the next few months and by this time next year too?
Yes, we are very worried how this could impact funding for the humanitarian response in the time to come. And I think then all countries need to think about what are actually the gravest needs at the moment. Where do we need to ensure that we get the support in? And I think maybe there are things that we can learn from the Ukraine response. The solidarity that we have shown in response to the Ukraine crisis is very heartwarming, and this is something we should learn from and see how we can scale up response to other displacement crises all over the world.
Thank you so much for speaking to us today on Global Refugee Day. Tiril Skarstein from the Norwegian Refugee Council. Thank you.
Thank you.